last time we made it through most of the planning and permit period of the Bay Conservation Development Commission, in anticipation of talking about the passage of the legislation in 1969. I've actually been thinking a lot about the Coastal Commission of late, so I'm trying to get my head back into BCDC, and I'm now going to force you to do that too. So I know that the process that you went about was that there were these 23 reports that were presented, and then the commission voted on them one at a time. And then they would kind of vote on approving the whole package at the end. And so the idea being, of course, that, well, why don't you explain the idea rather than me tell you?
The idea was, the traditional way of doing this was you just plunge right into the hardest, most divisive, most difficult issues because you think you're going to need to spend the most time on them, and the rest of it will just be fluff at the end. Okay, but had we done that, the commission, and most commissions like it, which are set up precisely to be diverse and have a lot of different viewpoints, would have just split. So there wouldn't have been any surprise. It would have just collapsed, because you couldn't go back to the legislature and say, here's what we recommend. Only half of us recommend doing just the opposite. The whole point was to indicate a path that everybody could agree to. So that meant, it seemed to me, you had to start with this, and to Mel Lane, Mel and I saw eye to eye on this, that you started with the stuff people could agree on and get people used to that you can agree about this stuff. And so that was the whole idea, not just to look at reports, but at the end of each report to have the commission say, yeah, this is what we get out of this subject, and this is what we want to include in the plan. And then the idea was, if there were issues unresolved by the time we'd gone through all these things, then we would have time at the end and would buckle down and decide them. But our fond hope, which was borne out, was by the time people get used to looking for agreement, there's not going to be all that much left. And there isn't. Did I know that was going to happen at the end? No. Did Mel? No. But it seemed to us the only way that there was any chance this could succeed. And as I think I said before, any fair-minded person looking at the ecological values of the bay had to agree they exist. Any fair-minded environmentalist looking at shipping had to understand the bay was a major world port and was probably going to stay that way. So at that level, there wasn't that much to disagree about. So then you go down another notch. Well, does that mean the ports can expand as much as they want to? No, it means if you're trying to protect the environmental values, if they need to expand into the bay, they first got to show you why there's no upland dry land already they can use. And then they've got to do the least possible damage to the bay whilst doing necessary expansion. And when you say it all that way, it just sounds incredibly reasonable. And as always, the problems in the details, I think 10 acres of fill's the minimum. No, I think 8's about right. And those are going to be hashed out in specific arguments. But at the level of preparing a plan that says everybody agrees the bay has all these values, if you're going to fill, you got to do the least possible and show there's no dry land place to do what you want to do. And to me, this just is so reasonable. You understand people are going to disagree about what those words mean, but at the level of a plan the legislature could consider, this is, to me, a huge step forward. So that's the course we took.